Ladies, gentlemen, welcome to Diablo. But wait, there's Diablo anyway. I guess. Not really. I mean, we're kind of talking about lore, but not all that much, I suppose.
Right, what is happening
I don't know what's
to
happening.
my thing?
What?
What is happening to my thing?
What's...
It's seizing. It's like pulses of light going on with his camera.
Oh, I don't know. But there's some like effects and stuff around the thing. Anyways, guys, we are talking about Reaper of Souls, the Diablo 3 expansion that was recently announced by Blizzard Entertainment. The prophecy, ladies and gentlemen, has been fulfilled. But Dunn, can you tell us a little bit about the prophecy so that we can jump on into this? And
Of course I can. First, let me consult
the Book of Cain.
I've been
still the best smelling book of all time.
Yeah, it's so good.
If I had pants on, I would go upstairs
and go get it.
But I don't have pants on. It's the illusion of podcasting. Shirt, no pants.
Indeed. I remember how it was before we went video. Anyway, and I quote, "And at the end of days, wisdom shall be lost, as justice falls upon the world of men. Valor shall turn to wrath, and all hope will be swallowed by despair. Death, at last, shall spread its wings over all, as fate lies shattered forever." Words no truer now than when they were written.
Indeed, so says the
They
Book
are more
of
true
Cain.
now.
Indeed.
So saith the Book of Cain.
So, with that said, I am Pride. I am the Smoking Gamer, joined today by Dunn, there on the right side of me. And we have Howitzer, who unfortunately is on his iPad or something like that, so he has no webcam. So he just has a little picture there in Mothial's face. If you guys haven't seen the overlay, I thought it was quite cool. I thought it was quite genius of me to do it that way. I thought it was quite nice. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about this prophecy and its fulfillment. So, Malal is formerly the Archangel of Wisdom. And now he is, I guess, the Archangel of... Can we call him the Archangel of Death? Like, can we get that straightened out? Like, is he the Archangel of Death, or is he just... Like, what is he now, exactly?
I think he's pretty much the Archangel of Death.
Right?
See, I don't see... does he get the Arch title still? Because Angel of Death sounds a lot better.
Angel of Death is a pretty good Slayer song.
Yeah. So we can agree then that we can...
Top.
So, okay, so Howitzer, you don't think that we should call him the Archangel of Death? You think just Angel of Death?
Angel of Death or just Death, because I feel like he is now just part... That's what he is now.
Well, I mean, because
death now.
in the Diablo lore or whatever, like, the Archangels, the title, I mean, just because they lose, like, one thing and gain another, like Tyrael was the Archangel of Justice, now he is the Archangel of Wisdom. So,
but he's also human,
I'd argue that too. I'd argue that too. I'd say he is just a smart human.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, because, like, the way I look at the prophecy or whatever, it's saying, you know, the justice becomes wisdom. The Archangel of Justice, of course, that being Tyrael, became then the Archangel of Justice. Valor turns to wrath. That's, of course, talking about, what's his face? What's his name?
Imperious. That guy's such a dick.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I still think they will always sort of hold their title of Archangel. Can we go back in the history, because of course you guys are a lot more knowledgeable in Diablo than I am, but can we go back in the backstory before that? Have there been other Archangels other than the 5 that we have?
There have not.
So, and we haven't, like, gained any new Archangels, right? So I think, like, the 5 Archangels or what have you, like, were and how always have been, are, and always will be Archangels. Do you get what I'm, like, saying in regard to that?
I do, and I agree.
Howitzer, have I swayed you on your opinion at all?
No? Kind of. Maybe for Tyrael, but I still don't think Malthael can be considered an archangel anymore. Because the archangels are representations of what is good.
Right.
Anu, I believe, is the actual term for it. And so now that he is no longer a representation of one of these characteristics, wouldn't that mean?
Well, then Imperius would also
he's
not
like his
be an
own
archangel
deal?
then, because he's now Valor turns to Wrath, right? So how do you justify
I mean,
that?
they should, basically at this point, I feel like half of these archangels should just be hanging out in hell. Because that's what they seem to be representing now. They all seem to be going away from the good parts, and now we're like, okay, well, guess what? We're bad now.
Well,
but they think it's
mean,
good.
I mean, hell's pretty empty now.
Yeah, they could move in.
That's true. Okay, so let's get down to the nitty gritty of this. Let's talk a little bit about. Let's theorize a little bit. Okay. Outside of that, before we get to the lore,
Well,
let's talk a little bit about the game, like the expansion itself. All right. Number one, I need to come out and say that I was wrong. What is the fucking WoW thing? The Dark Below is definitely not Diablo 3 expansion, so it no doubt is a World of Warcraft expansion. So there you go. I was
Or
wrong.
nothing at all.
They were right. Congratulations, gentlemen. But now that we do know that the Diablo 3 expansion will be called the Reaper of Souls, and no doubt we'll be learning a hell of a lot more. Myself and Howitzer will at BlizzCon 2013.
Oh,
November
it's
the...
okay. I'm gonna buy that $25 live stream thing. It's considerably cheaper.
Yes, considering that we have dropped, or will eventually drop well over $1,500 to go on this trip. It's
Yep.
a hell of a lot cheaper, but alright, so I mean, Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls, we know that Malthael, I guess, is going to be the end boss, right? We also...
He might not even be the end game boss because I mean you've got to squeeze in the Diablo fight. There's gonna be one, even if it doesn't make sense for there to be one.
Right.
I would say that he is, for this expansion, I feel like he is the ending boss.
Right.
If not continuing on to somewhere else where he continues to do things.
Right. I mean, I definitely think at some point we'll be... I mean, obviously, looking at this and looking at the trailer and the way it's kind of coming out to be or whatever, it seems like he's the main antagonist of the expansion. So, like, even when we get we get 5.4 patch, right, for WoW, we are no doubt inevitably going to get a 5.5 patch. So, there will probably be a raid, perhaps, in that 5.5 patch in WoW, right? So, that would make another boss the end boss outside of Garrosh. But that doesn't mean that Garrosh was not the main antagonist of Mist of Pandaria, right?
I sort of see.
Yeah,
The
so
point
I'm
he's
saying
making
that
here,
the way they're
Yeah.
painting the picture is that Malthael will be the sort of the main antagonist of Reaper
Yes.
of Souls, especially
Yeah,
with that
yeah,
title
definitely.
and the way and you know everything that they kind of showed in that opening cinematic that they released.
Well, actually, can we talk about that cinematic?
We
for a
can
bit,
in just
because-
in just a minute. I want to talk first.
Oh, but I'm so excited.
I know you are. First, I want to talk a little bit about the game itself and the new class, the Crusader, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is basically, you explained to me, I have not watched that video yet, unfortunately. But,
Oh, you should.
should I?
Yeah, it looks pretty. It's basically it's basically a paladin.
Right.
It's got a big old shield, sort of like Cross of St. George on the shield. It looks like a Middle Ages, like, Holy Crusader, like a Knights Templar sort of thing. It's got like a bunch of abilities that we see in the like trailer, the gameplay trailer, where he's like jumping up in the air and then falling back to the ground and making like a holy nova that kills everything around him when he lands, and he's got some sort of like army of light. He summons like these like light ghost spirit things
Right.
that sort of surround him to stop things from getting at him, and it's weird. I'm not sure how it's gonna play it, but it looks cool. I'll play one.
Definitely. I definitely want to level one up, as from what everything you've told me, it sounds like a pretty awesome class, pretty fun class to play. So what else do we know, Dunn, about this expansion so far, outside of the Crusader class and an appearance by Mathiel of some sort. Obviously, we're leaning towards him being a fairly major antagonist, if not the major antagonist of this expansion. Do we know anything else, really? Any specifics or anything like that?
Well, we know. Well, we can figure out a couple of things lore-wise from the cinematic. For one,
I love how you just jumped right into the cinematic. With,
yeah,
yes, great
the
segue.
cinematics. It's what we got. It's what we got at the moment. But
Well, there's a technical thing if they're adding 10 more levels.
well, I guess no one wants to hear about that.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. It's like if they add levels, does that mean they're adding on an act, or are they just raising level cap for when you do these quests? Like, when can you do these quests if they are raising level cap?
That is what I'm thinking about. Do I have to finish Hell difficulty on my mage before I can do the new levels? If I want to make a Crusader, do I have to start back in Act 1 and then do Act 1 to 4 times before I can do the new content on the new class? We're not sure yet.
Right. It'll be interesting to see how they come out with that.
But what I really want to talk about is this cinematic, because there are a couple of things that we can...
Alright, well, let's jump away from the game itself.
Let's
do what we do best. Let's talk lore. In this particular case, Diablo lore. Start us out, Dunn. Walk us through the cinematic and what we can learn lore-wise from the cinematic.
Okay, so Tyrael reveals that the Black Soulstone didn't fall to Sanctuary as we thought it was in the High Heavens.
Mm-hmm.
And the very fact that it was there was dangerous to... It was corrupting even the angels. And there's sort of a shot of Imperius being a dick. So Tyrael reforms the Heradric Order just to entrust them with safeguarding the Black Soulstone, and they hide it, and like none of them want to touch it. They've got these big stick things that they're carrying it on, and it's suspended in this like cool looking, I don't know, thing. It's sort of like this, and the Black Soulstone's here. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if anyone saw what I just did because of the smoke effect on the overlay, but it made sense to me, so I'm just gonna go with it.
I saw it at the very least.
Good stuff. And then, basically, I don't even know what's going on with Mathiel. He just sort of walks in. He's sort of floating on his wings. He cuts two dudes' head off, like with these little scythe things. He just cut them heads right off.
And then badass scythe things.
Well, yeah, his badass scythe things. And then he just sort of flaps his wings, and his wings are much less... You know how all the angels' wings were sort of light?
You're right.
And I say their wings were light. If I recall correctly, the light is what the angels are, and the clothes and the armor is just is something that they shape around them to give themselves...
Yeah, it's sort of to humanize them a bit.
Yeah. But they are basically just beings of light, and they are pretty much just their wings. But Mathiel's wings now are like dust.
Yeah.
And if you sort of look at them, they sort of look more skeletal than the other angel's wings look. But he's sort of floating there, he spreads his dust wings out, he flaps it, and then all this dust is flying everywhere. Right. And Tyrael does some sort of shield thing with his sword, and him and a buddy is safe behind this bubble that he makes. But everyone else just rapidly decays as they're struck by this dust.
Yeah.
And it's kind of graphic looking, really.
It's quite awesome looking,
and then
really.
Yeah, well, yeah. And then Mathiel just... I think he hooks Tyrael. I'm not sure if it's on his cloak or something, but he lifts him up.
Well, I mean, initially he uses his little scythe hook thing to, like, disarm
he disarms
Tyrael,
him.
and then I think he like hooks it onto his gem cloak.
Yeah.
Actually, I think he hooks it under his gem cloak and into like the shoulder armor that Tyrael wears,
yeah.
And then raises him up via that shoulder armor.
Either way, like, I mean, he's picking him up as if he's nothing.
Right.
He just sort of looks in his face, and I mean, I'm sure you've seen the Harry Potter films, right? I'm doing this. I'm making a Harry Potter comparison. You know how
I don't see how you're comparing these.
You know how the Dementors in those films sort of look like when they're doing their like soul sucking thing.
Yeah.
It sort of looked like that to me.
It did remind me
Like,
quite a
the
bit. Like everything about
Tyrion's face
Malal
went
kind of
all,
reminded me of a Dementor.
Apart from the badass sights.
Right.
And the fact that he like took that guy's soul just like by being close to him.
Right.
Yeah. That was another thing. And he like sort of traces his scythe over Tyrion's cheek, and you can see like soul coming off on the tip.
Yeah, it's really like.
But basically,
looking at it, like you see when he kind of rubs that sword or that scythe right through there, that you can literally see like bits of his soul like traveling down the sword towards Malal, and I'm wondering if what does that mean for Tyrael in a sense to have pieces of his soul being removed? Like I don't think that's something you can grow back, you know? Like that's.
But soul? No, I don't think you can.
It's like your liver, you know, it just eventually can regenerate itself.
All right, so I mean, I don't know what that means. Like, does that mean that has that taken away some power of Tyrael? Has that taken away? I mean, what is Tyrael lost with losing a little bit of his soul? Like, I don't. Does that make sense? Like, I'm not sure if there's any significance to him losing those bits of soul.
I imagine there is. I mean, no good can come of it. Let's be honest.
Right.
See, I don't think it's much. I feel like it's like his essence. I feel like a soul is the same kind of thing like as an essence in the Diablo universe. So, you know, you can't kill the demons because their essence just goes back and eventually grows.
Right.
And so I feel like he is now telling, by doing that, I don't think he did anything major to him, but I think he's like almost telling him, like, I can do this now. Do you feel that? Like, do you feel
Also,
it slowly coming away if I wanted to?
That raises another question. Since when how can Raphael do all this? He just sort of like...
Well,
like, I mean, he was just a wise dude, and he didn't talk much, but when he did, everyone listened, and all of a sudden he's showing up, like, decaying people left and right, cutting off heads and stealing souls. What is
yeah, and
going
within the
on?
first 5 minutes of him, we hear him say a whole sentence.
I know, right? And that sentence is nothing can stop death.
Right.
And then he steals the Black Soul Stone, and he's gone. He's like, fuck it, I came what I came for.
If you remember, it's he left. I mean, just going back to his originating, like when he was the Archangel of Wisdom, he started becoming like this as soon as the Nephilim were born.
So what you're saying is all our fault?
Basically what it is that before the Nephilim, there was no real like major death for the archangels and the demons. Your essence could just go back. There was no death, really, for them. And the Nephilim were the first people that could die in this Diablo universe. So I feel like as soon as he got introduced to them, he actually got introduced to the idea of dying. And so I feel like that's what he's doing, is that when he got introduced, he left. Because now he's like, this death thing is brand new. It wasn't used to him. He'd seen it all before. This death thing kind of threw in a whole new idea for him. And he's realizing that death is final. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, which is how come I think he's followed this death path, because it's kind of, in his idea, all-powerful.
Could well be.
That's true.
Which leads to the question...
Well, hold on, Dunn.
No,
Let me stop this before we get too far here. Can we once again refer to the amazing Book of Cain that you are so adamantly holding? Can we look back on Cain's description and backstory on Malal himself, and can we get a little bit of lore on perhaps Malal's origins and his relationships within the with the other archangels, with the what is it called? I know there's a name for it.
The Anguirus Council.
The Anguirus Council, their Anguirus Council.
We can as soon as I find his page.
I'm on his page right now.
Oh, okay, you can do it then.
See, I'm reading it now, and
can we?
Basically, he's just understood as like he was a quiet man who was once said to cherish all life, but he's later described as melancholy, evasive, and at times even frightening.
Dunn,
Is because he's bound to the truth of all
Can
things.
you hold up the picture for everyone to kind of see what we're kind of talking about? Can you move it a little bit closer, perhaps?
I can try. Is that better?
A little bit over to your right, perhaps? Yes,
That way?
Yes, a little bit more.
That way.
Perfect. All right, go ahead, Howie.
Okay, make it quick, dude, because my arm.
Okay.
This is
Take
I
as
believe
long
Malal
as you want.
I believe Malthael's demeanor can be understood through the following tract written by the mortal sage, who saw wisdom of his earthly life. Let's see. Then saw a bunch of gobbledygook. Let's see. He's said to derive his insight from Shaladar, the chalice of wisdom. This vessel is not like a cup of water that you and I would be familiar with. It rather contains living life that can never be depleted, where you can see the web of connectivity that binds all things as one. He used to stare into that cup for years on end. After a while, he just kind of would just stare at it and wouldn't talk to anyone. Let's see. Then he stopped once the Nephilim were born. And he's wondering, did the birth of Nephilim somehow cloud the Archangel's eyes from wisdom, or did it open them to some new foreboding truth? Let's see. We have never know. He has disappeared. Wisdom. As I write this, I cannot help but be reminded of the prophecy that says wisdom shall be lost. And that's basically it. There's really not much on him, other than he was really quiet, but people heeded his counsel when they could. But towards the end, he would stare into that cup for a long time until the Nephilim were born, in which case he started changing and eventually left.
Okay. So what we basically know is that he's very quiet, he's very reserved, speaks only when he has something to say, and people listen, right? That's pretty much
that's pretty much the gist
short
of it.
explanation of everything. Okay, so how do we get from that to soul-sucking angel of death, right? Like what is the transition? And I think that we've obviously hit on this a little bit with Howitzer's theory that perhaps it is the Nephilim's fault with our experience with death and our ability to die, right? And perhaps we can even go further and say that perhaps his taking of the soul of Tyrael was more of a statement to not only Tyrael but to Imperius as well, or any of the other archangels, that you can now die. I can kill you, and you can't come back. Do you think that that's perhaps something that we can claim, or at least
It could well be, and actually there is one last line from the Book of Cain that Howie didn't read. It is, I find it hard not to view Mathiel's sudden departure as yet another sign of the end of days, and that could explain why he wants the Black Soulstone as well.
That was actually written before Diablo 3, and it's actually referencing the part of the prophecy where it says wisdom shall be lost.
Yeah, I don't even
And
know
so
what
that
the
was
next
more of the, I feel like that was more of the prime evil kind of thing, just saying this is, because this was before the Diablo 3 even came out.
perhaps?
So, but you might be right with the Black Soulstone, because that's a whole different thing I have in theory on, but I feel like we're not there yet.
So let me also just ask or bring this up, because I mean, obviously we can sit and we can theorize quite a bit on just exactly what is happening with Malthael and his transition into from Angel of Wisdom to Angel of Death. But I'm really interested a little bit in where we think perhaps the Archangel of Hope could come into play in all of this, or even Imperius, the Archangel of Valor. Will we see more of this transformation from Imperius, from the Archangel of Valor to the Archangel of Wrath? You know what I mean? Like what? Where are the other archangels coming into play? And of course, there's also another one that I can't recall his name either.
Ithrael.
Yeah, Ithrael.
Archangel of Fate.
Fate. So,
which is another big thing, yeah.
Yeah. What does it say? what is the prophecy say
In
about
regards
fate
to,
and hope?
I was gonna say, well, currently
to-
in the pro.
Oh, go ahead, Howard. Oh, okay. I'll do
Okay,
it.
well,
I will once again. The last line of the prophecy is, "As fate lies shattered forever." So I don't see
So
fun
fate is
times
going
in
to
if
die,
Rails,
perhaps.
yeah, pretty much.
And we
Or-
say shattered. Perhaps he dies from Malthael. Perhaps because that could tie back into with Malthael's attempt or show of hand rather of taking the soul of Tyrael, or some bits of the soul of Tyrael. Perhaps we can see that he's stating once again that he can kill. Perhaps the other archangels don't get that message and try and go after him, and because of that, he in the end kills Fate in order to very clearly send the message that he can and will destroy the other archangels, his fellow archangels, his brothers and sister, if they try and get in his way, right?
yes.
What is
yes.
it now? What does it say about hope? Does it say
It's,
anything about hope?
No, it does. It says, "Hope will be consumed
Hope will be swallowed by despair," which already happened,
Yeah.
Yeah.
kind of.
I forget which of the primevals was despair. I'm gonna.
I don't think it was.
No,
a
there is
primeval,
one.
I think it was.
Well, maybe one of the lesser evils.
Yeah, I think it's a lesser evil.
That was a mission that I remember in Act 4 of Diablo 3 where Hope is encased in this thing that despair put her in.
Right. That's true. I recall that. Okay, so the prophecy.
Despair is a lesser demon that serves Andariel, the Maiden of Anguish, I believe. Or it could be Asmodan, because he's pretty cool. Everyone likes him, right? I like him.
Okay, so basically the parts of the prophecy that we're waiting on now, because we've already seen Valor turn to wrath, we've already seen justice to wisdom, and we've seen hope to despair. We're just now witnessing wisdom
Death
to death.
spreading his wings over all.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at the punctuation, the last two lines are the same sentence.
Yes.
The last sentence of the prophecy says, "Death at last shall spread its wings over all, as fate lies shattered forever." So basically, if I'm reading this sentence correctly, it sounds like fate dies, which gives death permission to rule over everything.
That could be. That's interesting.
Yeah, death at last shall spread its wings over all, as fate lies shattered forever at the same time. They're correlated.
So we perhaps then have not seen death, or of course Malthael at his peak. So basically we have to wait for fate to die in order for death to then rule, right? To take
Yes.
to take everyone's fate out of their own hands and now into the hands of death.
Which puts us in the position as the Nephilim, the one person who what's his name? Ithriel couldn't see on his scroll of fate because we're not part of the natural order of existence.
Right.
Because those who can't remember, or perhaps never knew in the first place, the Nephilim are the spawn of a demon chick whose name I can't remember, and an angel dude whose name I can't remember.
We're hybrids, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're hybrids of an angel and a demon.
So that would make sense why we are the one that needs to stand up against Mathael, and that's why Tyrael sends one of the Haradrim to get the Nephilim in the end of the cinematic.
Right. And says that the Nephilim will stop you. And then, of course, Malthael comes out with his quote, "Nothing can stop death." So, it appears that Malthael is not afraid of the Nephilim. He's not afraid of us, so I guess it's going to be a
That
hell
makes
of a
me
fight.
afraid. I don't know about you, but that frightens me.
Alright, so again, there's not a whole lot we can speculate on realistically because we're just now sort of getting this information. But do you guys have any sort of last words or anything else perhaps that you would like to talk about in regards to this new information we've gathered?
Well, I've got a quick one, Howie, so if you want to go next. Basically, everything that I believe to be happening in the next expansion, I definitely remember talking about as a prediction of what would happen 2 years ago, so,
right.
Just saying.
That's true.
Just saying.
Howie?
I was saying a lot of, have we talked about why we think he wants the Black Soul Stone at all?
I very briefly, I think it has something to do with him bringing on the end of days.
See, I thought it would be because all of the Prime Evil's souls are in it.
Oh, it's also worth mentioning, and I don't think we mentioned this earlier, that not even the angels could destroy the Black Soul Stone.
Right.
That's how that
and it had to be locked away even from the angels.
Indeed. We did mention that bit.
Yeah.
Okay. And also, I was going to say, a lot of people, I was looking at comments for the cinematic, and a lot of people are like, how come he just doesn't kill Tyrael? And to answer that question, I would say it's probably because he wants to go have Tyrael tell the other archangels what happened.
Right. I think that's the whole point with what I was saying earlier about sending a message to the archangels to basically stay out of his way because, you know, he has the ultimate power now. He can kill both angel and demon, and not just in the way that because, I mean, the angels and demons cannot really experience death, or have not been able to experience death so far on themselves. They always come back. However, I think the message that Malthael, as the Angel of Death, is trying to send is that he now has that power. He now has the ability to, of course, kill them, send them to their graves indefinitely. And so I think that's the biggest reason that he didn't kill Tyrael.
Okay. And I think we should probably end on the predictions for what we think will happen in the expansion.
I think
Malthael
Malthael will kill Ithriel, kill Fate, and once Fate is destroyed, or once Fate lies shattered, rather, Malthael will then probably... I'm thinking Malthael will come to Sanctuary and try and fuck the world up, you know what I mean? Like, that's my prediction, and then I think the Nephilim will inevitably kill him, or at least destroy him. That's another thing we have to kind of question as well. Can we kill him? Can we inhibit, like, for example, he can now kill angels and demons indefinitely, but has he himself also lost that? You know what I mean? Like, is he now
my question
mortal?
is, do we want to kill him?
That's good. Well,
if he has the power to put away archangels and prime evils by himself, do we actually want to help him? Because if we kill him, doesn't that mean they're all back and then we're still under the thumb of the angels and demons? Whereas if we just kind of let him do his thing...
Well, I think that he inevitably will come after us as well.
One sec. Calling it. We're going to have a Dragon Soul cinematic style expansion where Malthael's going to kill all the angels and all the demons and say, okay, the time of angels and demons is over. It is now the time of men. Calling it.
Perhaps so.
That's kind of what he wants, isn't it? I mean, he has these people that don't die, him being the Archangel of Death. He doesn't like that because he doesn't have ultimate control of them yet until he gets their essences. So which is how come I think he's grabbing the Black Soul Stone so he could put all the demons and all the Archangels' essences in this thing. Then he doesn't have to worry about that anymore. He can just do his own thing. He now has ultimate power because everyone else can die now.
Perhaps.
That's what my prediction is that where it's going to be an angel-themed expansion. It's going to be us helping the angels for a while. Then I'm calling this too. We're eventually going to realize he is a necessary part, and without him, it will just be worse. And so we let him go at the end and say, okay, we actually have to have you.
Perhaps. I do know that the stream is being a bit laggy now. I don't know what's going on with that. So I do apologize. Which it is definitely getting worse.
Yeah, I can see it getting worse.
Yeah, I don't know what is going on. Something about the streaming is just not... See, now it's getting better. It's going back up. I don't know what the deal is. But anyways, so that is that.
It's trying to shut us down.
It could be. In the meantime, though, guys, we will, of course, talk more about this as we get closer to BlizzCon and more information drops about the Reaper of Souls. In the meantime, though, guys, it has been absolutely amazing to sit down and talk a little bit about Diablo and Diablo lore. I have been Pride, Dunn has been Dunn, Howitzer has been Howitzer, and we'll see you next time